Welcome to Big Brother Basics, where we break down the basics of Big Brother Canada 3. My name is Jacob Harple, and with me tonight is the always fantastic, always fabulous Keith Guerrero. How are you doing tonight, Keith?
I'm doing fantastic and fabulous. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And also joining with us tonight, the first official Big Brother Basics guest, Tom House. We decided to get a Canadian perspective on the show. How are you doing tonight, Tom?
I'm doing fabulous, and tonight's episode was fabulous. I loved it.
Well, thank you so much for joining. A lot to talk about. Really great to see kind of a power shift in the game. So immediately after Brittany wins HOH, she tells us about this giant master plan on how to target Greg. So I just want to get both of your initial thoughts. Do you think Brittany is right to have Greg be the main target? Is there anyone else in the house that you think she might have been better off going after, or is Greg kind of the perfect person to try and get evicted this week? Tom, what do you think?
Um, it's interesting because I think based off what she knows, there would be some better people to go after. But when you consider that somebody's going to come back into the house probably based off a competition, I think that Greg's the perfect person to get out because he's not going to win shit. And he's also like really, really stupid and like set in who he's going to go after. So she's making like strong decisions that'll advance her forward. I think she's playing this pretty well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. What about you, Keith?
Hi, my name is Keith. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot. Um, so my thoughts on Greg as a target. I think that he painted himself as the target. He definitely deserves that spotlight. Sure, Brittany could target other people, but at this stage of the game, it's very early. You do want to try to like advance each week, like without blood on your hands. And she could paint Greg as being a bully, and that's exactly what she's doing. And so I think she went about it pretty cool, and she's doing it in an entertaining way. You know, like she didn't straight up nominate Greg. She wants a backdoor plan to be in action. She's having fun with her HOA train, and after being the pawn for 2 consecutive weeks, the girl could get a little respect with having some sort of like plan to get some sort of revenge with the people that wronged her in the past. So I am totally down with Greg being the target. I think Brady's playing an awesome game, and I'm very excited for the eviction episode.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you guys said. Definitely what you said, Tom, about how Greg is kind of the perfect person because of the comeback twist. Obviously, they don't know about it, but it's kind of like it's almost lucky that she's going after someone that's really done nothing competition-wise. So, if it was Bobby or Kevin, really, it'd be really nervous for us knowing that they have a really good chance of fighting their way back into the house. So I think Greg is the perfect person, and also because they could kind of paint that bully target. So I think Greg is the perfect person to get out of the house, and then it'll give them their best shot of just kind of going back under the radar. Instead of taking someone out like Bobby or Kevin, someone that does have connections, and kind of creating a bigger target for herself and Sarah. So Keith, you kind of mentioned it just there. She's having a lot of fun with the nominations and the back door, the master plan, if you will. But do you think it's almost a little bit too much, just a little bit too flared? Why make this whole elaborate story about targeting Johnny and kind of keeping a lot of the house in the dark? Do you think that might hurt her game in some way, Keith?
If I had to critique anything about the master plan, quote unquote, it would definitely be that I think Brittany should have kept Johnny in the dark, so that we would get his authentic reaction from, like potentially writing her name down. I think that would have been cool. But aside from that, I think that there's just so many little deceptions inside the game, and so now that Brittany's in power and I don't know, I just loved her nomination speech, and yeah, I think it was all warranted. I think it was fine.
Okay. What about you, Tom? What did you think about the elaborate plan?
Oh well, when she originally was talking, I thought she made it sound like she was gonna put up Johnny as a pawn, and I thought that would have been such a terrible idea.
Hmm.
So I was really relieved to see that she was thinking about things like, worst case scenarios, because that would have been horrendously bad if she put him up. Uh, I kind of disagree with Keith. I think it was smart that she kept him in on the loop because um, she's going to need Johnny and soon. So, and I like if she wants to have any chance of like pulling in Kevin, which I think might actually be a possibility because Sarah seems to have a strong relationship with Kevin.
Hmm.
She's gonna need Johnny to do that as well. So having like that kind of strong, kind of open communication is pretty good for this stage of the game.
I can't believe you would disagree with me, Tom. My opinion is what the House wants. It's
We
what the
never
House
did.
wants.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what the house wants, you know. But no, I totally agree. I think, you know, especially with the position that Brittany and Sarah are in, you know, they really need to try and get people on their side, you know, because, you know, they think they have Zach and Jordan, but it's obvious those two are just playing the middle. So you definitely want to try and keep as many people in the know as possible, so that way they feel included with your alliance and with your plans, and they feel like they can trust you moving forward. Um,
I was
so,
kind of
and no, you go. No, you take it away. Take it
sorry,
away.
sorry. So the reason why I said keep Johnny in the dark, I was pulling from a Big Brother 14, where Dan kept Danielle in the dark, and Danielle like cried, having her authentic reaction, and that definitely helped Dan's case to stay inside the game. But this is also only week 3. She has reason to
Yeah,
go. She has reason to go after every single person that she's nominating. So I understand why she kept Johnny in, but my argument was just in case she wanted to keep everybody in the dark, she should have kept Johnny out. But
yeah,
keeping Johnny in the loop definitely helps her game as well.
definitely, definitely. So let's go ahead. One thing I also wanted to mention about all that. I think that it really worked out for Brittany that Johnny was the one, the veto, because with Johnny winning and him using it, it kind of made everything seem very natural, where it's like, oh, I have to put Greg up now. It's, you know, Johnny told all this stuff. So it's almost like, you know, from Brittany's perspective, it kind of makes it look like Johnny's the bad guy. So I think that those pieces really fell into place for her game specifically. So now a lot of the attention is on Johnny rather than Brittany. Do you agree, Keith?
I I think it would have been perfect had Johnny not had his veto speech. I think Johnny's veto speech revealed too much. I think that he said, "I hope that you follow through with what we talked about and nominate the bully of the house or whatever." So
Oh,
I think he
yeah.
should downplay his relationship with Brittany, but he revealed, I think, too much inside his veto speech.
That's a fair point. Did you have anything you want to add about that, Tom?
I mean, I think you're right, but I also kind of feel like probably it was a little bit more obvious to the house than the TV show made it look. Like I bet, like because like if even Greg picked up that Brittany and Johnny and Sarah were up until 4:30 or whatever in the morning, like I guarantee you there were at least a few others that got it. Like there's no way that Greg was the first person to realize that there was a
Yeah,
possibility that
if
they
you
were together.
if Greg knows something about you, then I think you can assume that probably the whole house knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think and it's one of those things where, you know, by doing that, it does kind of peg those three together. But it's kind of like Sarah with voting Brittany and her being targeted because she didn't vote with the House, when in actuality, she's kind of just the target anyway. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, then it did make them look very, very close. But I think it's just the House consensus now that those three are definitely working together, which definitely sucks for them, but you know, at this point, you just kind of have to roll with it and just work on the relationships of everyone else in the house. So I want to talk about Newport because I feel like we didn't really get too much for them, except, oh, wow, we're still in a really great position. Are you surprised that they didn't really, I guess, question Johnny, or I'm sorry, Jordan and Zach with, you know, what happened during the instant eviction? Are you surprised that they're still pretty much good to go with Sarah and Brittany, Keith?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how in they are with both sides of the house. because Brittany in her confessionals revealed that she is completely like comfortable thinking that she has Jordan and Zach as votes. And then on the other side, I mean, Zach's inside the chop shop. Jordan's in the best position knowing that Chop Chop exists and trying to maneuver things so that Chop Chop doesn't have a complete advantage. So there's a lot of things working in Newport's favor. I wonder how long it's going to last. I don't know if it's going to last the entire season because I think people will catch on. But I don't know. I don't know how the people think Zach and Jordan's relationship are because to me it's obvious that they're close, even without the whole Newport Alliance thing. But I just don't know how perceptive the rest of the housemates are.
Definitely. Tom, what are your thoughts on the Newport Alliance?
I mean, right now they seem like the players to watch. I don't think it makes sense for either of them to stick with that alliance long term, though, which is interesting because sooner or later, Jordan is going to have to realize that he has much better odds with Kevin in making it to the end, I think, because I really think that Ashley is going to throw a huge wrench into that whole thing. I think that Zach is right now, he's like totally, about Newport. Sooner or later, though, Ashley's going to win him over. He's going to start thinking with the wrong head, and he's going to be. I mean, I think he'll still set himself up well, but I think it's going to be at the expense of Jordan. And I think Ashley, the other thing is, Ashley is a more savvy player than I was originally giving her credit for because she, in that one competition where they were putting up people, she did something that reminded me of what Portia did in BB13. She had two easy nominees like outside of her alliance. She puts up beside each other, and she doesn't go with that. She goes with two of the guys, keeping kind of like the appearances going with the girls. So I think that Newport is great for now, and they can ride the middle, but like they really are on different sides of the house, and I don't think that they're going to have mutual interest for the whole game.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see how Zach handles like his first roadblock because right now we finally got two members of the Chop Shop on the block. One is going to go and hopefully not return. So I think we're definitely going to see, especially with this vote, members of the Chop Shop kind of start doubting each other because I can assume that Bruno's definitely want to keep Greg. But it'll be interesting to see how much they argue or deliberate on which one to go with. And I think that's going to start the cracks. So Chop Shop, I think, maybe has 2 more weeks, to be honest. And so after that, it's going to be just seeing Zach and Jordan as Newport playing the middle and playing all these different sides and trying to keep each side targeting the other. So I do agree that they're definitely the two to watch out for, but I'm really interested to see how they handle their any adversity in the game, and I want to see him get tested. But yeah, I agree with Ashley. I think she's definitely someone to look out for, and she could very well be Zach's kryptonite.
Well, I think there's really people on both sides that have the ability to piece things together. I think if I was the Newport Alliance, I would be pushing for Bobby to lead this week instead of Greg, because Greg's somebody who's going to be really polarizing and let them ride the middle really easily. Mm-hmm. As soon as you take Greg out of the equation, you're left with people like Willow, like Ashley, and even Bruno. I don't think Bruno's game is nearly as bad as it's being presented. He's just got this like anchor attached to him right now. Right. And as soon as those people are in the house without the Greg factor, I think that there's going to be conversations had with Johnny and Sarah, and there's going to be a little bit more back and forth between the two groups, and I don't think that that's actually very good for the Newport Alliance. They're going to have these players are not the players from BB16. These players are all really looking around at what's going on, and the fact that Sarah and B and Johnny right now are seen as together, that's not great for them. But I honestly feel to be honest, I kind of get the impression that everybody's kind of aware of who likes each other and who's close, that kind of thing.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I think we've got a lot of super fans this season, people who definitely know the game. I mean, you've got Sarah quoting Dr. Will in her diary rooms, and Bruno, like you said, I think has a much better head on his shoulders. than people give him credit for. So it's tough, but it's just such a hard decision to make because a lot of people assume that they have Zach and JP, mostly Sarah and Brittany. So if they were to keep Greg in the house, like that's a huge like middle finger to that side. So it's like that catch 22. Like they want to keep the big target in because it's kind of like a shield, but they don't want to shake the house up too much with a vote because that's going to give them maybe some unwanted attention. So it's just kind of figuring out what the right decision is, what has more pros than cons. What do you think, Keith?
I think this week is going to be actually pretty straightforward. I think the house is okay with Greg leaving, despite Bobby's like threat level. Even though I do think there is a huge advantage in getting rid of Bobby this round from the house's perspective. I think they're as a way to try to keep the unity and the honeymoon phase long as possible. They're probably just going to get rid of Greg. I mean, that's what happened with Cindy and Neha. They were both dynamic people that chose a side and they got eliminated, and Greg chose a side, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get eliminated for it. Also, to speak about like characters like Bruno and Ashley, I think they're playing great games. I think the person that's in the middle of the road out of everybody in the house is Ashley. I think she's completely playing the most perfect game out of everybody, and she has like that connection with Zach as well to kind of like make sure that she has something within the chop shop, not just generally, but also something that benefits her game specifically. And she hasn't been really not like mentioned as like a potential target. She's in such a good position socially, and I think she's playing an awesome game where she doesn't even have to worry about the strategy element until probably jury phase. But for somebody like Bruno, I think he's playing a very ideal under-the-radar game where he attached himself to this really large figurehead. And even with Brittany talking about her short list, when she narrowed it down to 4, Bruno was still not on there. Like, Bruno's playing an amazing game to avoid hitting the block, and I commend him for it. He's doing really good. So I think those two people have the best chance at, like, floating, at least into jury phase.
Do you, Tom, do you think Greg leaving is going to help or hurt Bruno's game?
I think it's going to help. I think Bruno got really lucky that Greg was targeted this round because it would have probably been a good idea to get rid of Bruno over Greg out of the two of them. Luckily, Greg is like that obnoxious that people are just like, no, I can't. I just can't. So they're getting rid of him. And actually, to be honest, probably from like the people who are in control's perspective right now, like Brittany and Sarah, it is the right decision to get rid of Greg. But most people it would be beneficial to get rid of Bruno because Bruno is somebody who's like not going to ever cut off his options. I don't think. I think he's going to always like be aware of the fact that if he's feeling on the outs, he can flip over to the other group of people. And if you're those other people, that's really good. And also with what Keith was saying about Ashley. I never thought I would be a pro Ashley player, especially when I saw Ashley was like, and Risha didn't seem like they were going to get along. I was originally kind of, whatever, Ashley seems like she's going to suck. But also, she seems to be in with the girls because that one conversation, like, there's so many times in BBs where the girls are just at each other's throats, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not what's happening this game. And that one conversation where I think it was Pilar was like, is this all of us left? Where there's just like this, like, wow, yeah, you're down to 5 against 8, not good. Nobody leaked that, which at least nobody leaked it on the show. I don't watch the feeds very much, but that's like a pretty good indication that these girls aren't going to pull a Christine and just hand a guy a victory.
Yes, don't pull a Christine.
Do you guys remember the last time Pilar had a confessional?
I mean, I saw her audition video. I understand why production's not putting themselves through that.
I was thinking it because I honestly couldn't remember because they had the scene where she's laughing at JP's butt, and I was like, oh, here we go, Pilar could DR, and then nope, and I was like, all right, I guess it's just another episode. Pilar has nothing relative to say.
I love it.
The person who has the easy float ride to jury, if you ask me.
Oh, she's not going anywhere.
At the same time, she's gonna be like the Tala of this game, except not as funny.
Yeah, exactly. Well, honestly, like I love her to death. I think she's precious, and I think maybe one thing is if you watch on the feeds, sometimes when she talks, you cannot understand a single thing that she says. So I'm sure it's like a mix of that and the fact that she has like no strategic footing in this game whatsoever. So the producers are probably just like, you know what? We're just gonna give Brittany some more lines this week. Don't worry about it. It's okay, Peely.
You know what's interesting though? I thought out of everybody in their opening voting, like the anonymous votes, I thought that she had the best one, which was she hasn't done anything since then. But she voted, I think it was like for Godfrey and Greg maybe, or like two like strong guys right in the beginning, and her and Sarah were the only two that understood. Wait a minute, like if the girls don't take this opportunity, we're gonna go out like a bunch in a row. And that to me is impressive. That's something that most girls don't get going into BB. That they need to kind of sit together. They're usually looking to latch onto a guy. So if Pilar is looking like at the girls as options, that's at least something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see her win an HOH. I would be very nervous because I feel like, she could be very easily manipulated, but I think she at least has the mindset of like, you know what, a guy needs to go. A guy needs to go. So it'd be great for her to win and people just use that as an opportunity to like get rid of Godfrey or someone like that.
I think she'd be our best bet at a Newport nomination.
That would be
it's weird to say that, but like I think she's probably the only one who doesn't feel like she has them.
Well, the only reason I would think that she might not is because her and Kevin are so close, and Kevin thinks that him and like JP are a final two, and with that they've kind of thrown in Zach to the mix. So Kevin might be in her ear as far as like trying to avoid that, but it'd be pretty hilarious if she's just like, well, I don't know, I guess I'll just nominate Zach and JP. Like, oh my god, the house would just flip.
Do you kind of feel like Kevin this season might be the Nicole to JP's Christine? Because I kind of feel
That's a great comparison, actually.
I feel like JP is just kind of laughing it off, being like, oh, I'm really with Newport. This Fortress thing's pretty dumb. It's like, buddy, this Newport thing is not going to work out for you. I can see it coming a mile away. Like, I don't know, like, Zach seems really charismatic, and JP isn't, and I think he's kind of swooning a little bit. Like, they're bromancing, and it's not going to be a bromance that works out in JP's favor if he lets Zach get too much control.
I'm really excited to see the mid to late game of this season, especially if a lot of the power players are still in. Like if Sarah can manage to stay in the game, if you have players like Kevin, Zach, JP, Ashley, Brittany, just to see like what the dynamics are, and if Jordan does decide maybe taking Zach to the end isn't the greatest thing for me. I don't know. I'm really excited. It could be. I think it could be. We could be looking at a really bloodthirsty mid game.
That'll be really exciting to see. And to be completely honest, though, I don't see Newport backstabbing each other at all. Like I think that they have like some sort of unspoken trust that is gonna exceed far beyond this game. And even with the $500,000 on the line, I don't think that they're gonna backstab each other. I think they've proven loyalty time in and time out. Both of them are completely like 100% Newport inside their confessionals, and I personally cannot see either one of them turning on each other. Now, should they? Sure, if it benefits their game, but it's also cool to see such a strong friendship. And then also such a good alliance just work the game to their advantage.
I know, I get different vibes than you. I really think at some point in this game, Zach is going to cut Jordan loose. I feel like I can see it coming from a mile away. Like I feel like right now, whenever he does this whole like, I'm not taking the Fortress thing seriously, I'm on Team Newport, I'm just like screaming at my television and being like, dude, you're making the wrong decision. Like Kevin is way more committed to you than Zach is. Like Zach's telling you shit now, but he's already got like that Ashley thing going. He's got like every option in the house as opposed to you only having like half the options in the house because like he's in with the chop shop and with the girls. JP's only in with the girls. So like I don't know. I think he's gonna totally get screwed over by Zach at some point in this game. And even if he doesn't, then he's gonna be the Cody to Zach's Derek. Like I don't see any situation where he wins the game if he decides to go to the end with Zach.
Interesting. I think Jordan could win the game. Like having that information about the chop shop and him like strategically playing it to his benefit. I think Jordan definitely could win the game. But you do bring some interesting points to the table. I definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk about that later because there is so much game to talk about, or so much game left until we even start thinking about stuff like that. But I don't mind Jordan being like super, super loyal to Zach, but kind of like what you said, Tom, I think that, whether you're not crazy about a certain person, like this game is all about opportunities and creating as many options for yourself as possible and keeping those options open for as long as you possibly can. So for him to be just so dismissive on the relationship with Kevin is a little makes me a little nervous for him. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. I think it just depends on how these next couple of weeks shake down, and who really is all a part of the jury, and that'll just kind of
And
make
to be
way.
fair, he's impressed me a lot. Like I thought going into this, he was going to be another Peter, and I don't think he's another Peter anymore. I don't think that this is Shield 2.0. Like this is like solid BB players playing solid games, and I do think right now he should be staying loyal, but he should just be like a little bit more cognizant of like his options,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah, I do think they're definitely different, but actually maybe better than the Shield. I don't think Zach is nearly as cocky or comfortable as Alex was. And the thing about Peter was like he would always talk about how, oh, I'm throwing, I'm throwing, I'm throwing, and then when the time came for him to actually win something, he really couldn't win anything. So it's gonna be it really just depends on what their game looks like when they decide, what, it's time to start winning comps and if they're going to actually be able to do that. And I think that Jordan has a really great advantage if he puts some of his eggs in the Fortress basket because Kevin has proved to be a incredible challenge performer, and why not water that relationship and definitely use that later down the road when you need to start taking out all these other power players.
Tom, I have
Yeah.
a question for you. Because Jacob and I already talked about this pretty extensively, but what was your opinion about Brittany prior to her winning HOH, and what is your opinion of her now?
Um, Prior to her winning HOH, I thought she had jury written all over her, but only jury. I thought that she kind of seemed like a little bit of a non-factor, but pleasant, easy to get along with. Somebody who's going to take anybody who can go on the block and not implode isn't a bottom of the barrel BB player, as far as I'm concerned. Like that means that you have enough awareness to realize, like, hey, I need to like be calm, cool, and collective. Hey, I need to like handle this situation properly, and she has shown a lot of grace in those situations, which are hard to deal with. But I never thought she was going to be a proactive player, and this week I really think that she has been. I don't think it's like she's doing some next level gameplay, but she's putting herself out there. She's owning her week. She's making sure that like I think she's handling it really well. The whole like even though she thinks that she has the Newport Alliance with her, and she maybe doesn't really, I think that they'd be very hesitant to get rid of her first because she's going to them and including them in the plans and saying like, what do you guys think about this? And that is to them going to signal that later on when there's a more down to the wire situation that they can count on her. So I think she has improved immensely since I've seen this week, but I didn't think she was bad to begin with. I still don't think she's like the best player in the game, but I think she's a contender.
Hmm. Yeah, that was something that Keith and I have been talking a lot about recently because just on Twitter, on the feeds, there's kind of like this. She kind of had this stigma the first like couple of weeks how she's not doing anything, like she was just kind of laying around while she was on the block. But Keith and I argued that with the position that she was in and sitting next to someone like Cindy, we thought she was doing exactly what she needed to, which was just lay low, not pose herself as a threat at all. And I think it's great to see her in a power position and definitely not be afraid to make moves. And that's just kind of our thinking on Brittany, right, Keith?
Yeah, and something that I do want to talk about is Brittany's nominating some threatening people. She may be considered like the pawn of the season or whatever you want to say, but she nominated Kevin, who's a competition beast. Bobby, who's a competition beast, and Greg, who's like the head of this Chop Shop Alliance. She's putting herself out there, yet people still won't give her credit for her HOH reign. Like, Greg was moping around pissed that Johnny, like trying to put all the heat on Johnny for having a conversation with Brittany. And then prior to that, in the previous episode, Greg confronted Sarah about, I know you're going to have a lot of influence with Brittany's decision. Like, give Brittany credit. This is completely Brittany's HOH reign. Sure, like, perception, like, if Brittany's painting that perception for the house, that is key. That is golden. But, like, she deserves so much more credit than, like, the house is giving her, and I just don't understand why. They're not, like, respecting that.
Yeah, it sucks, but I think, fortunately for her, though, that's honestly not the worst thing that could happen to her, because if that's what everyone's thinking, then you know what? Let them think that, because what that means is if she's sitting on the block next to Johnny, or if she's sitting on the block next to Sarah, she's going to be the one that stays. So obviously later in the game, she's going to want to try and tweak that perception of her, if she's still in the house. But as far as right now, there's 13 people still in the game. It's not the worst thing in the world that they're not seeing her as the figurehead of that group. You know what I mean?
Well, especially, like, let's put it this way. Like, if she gets to the end, sure, this is how they're perceiving her now, right? If she gets to the end, like, both her and Kevin have been nominated twice, have won an HOH, and neither of them have major targets on their backs, right? That is an indication that you're playing properly. Sure, it sucks that you're nominated, but, like, I don't think she really did that much to be nominated the first time, and the second time she was nominated because of the first time, right? Mm-hmm. Then she's won this HOH. She's handled it pretty well. We'll obviously see what the fallout is, but, like, to me, it's really telling of the casting of this season that they did a great job, that those two players, in my opinion, like, that's a great game, better than almost everyone except for Derek in this past season. And
that's not saying much.
That's not saying much. But so they're better, and I don't even consider them the best players of the season. Like, I consider them like top 6 or 7, and I think it's a tight contest for the best. So we have some very, very strong players, and I don't know why Robin Cass does good casting
in Canada,
the U.S., but I'm all for it.
I guess there's a better pool up there.
I think you just get more applicants here. Like, there's so many people who are recruited into the American version.
Right.
Everybody, like, there's so many super fans who you can tell went through the casting process.
Well, I bet you that after this week, people will be a lot more hesitant about using Brittany as a pawn.
Yes, yeah. That was the smartest part about her nominations, right? Like, she can win, she'll put them back up. So.
Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm putting the 2 people that put me up, so... Just if you
keep that in mind.
Yeah, just keep that in mind for nominations.
I'll wave my finger in your face and you won't forget.
So let's.
Good. Yeah.
I was just gonna. I wanted to talk about the last part of the show. Just I guess the Greg confrontation. What did you guys think about that? Just the way that I guess that whole thing went down, because I thought that Johnny, for the most part, handled himself very well. Do you think that Brittany might have thrown Johnny under the bus just a little bit? Do you think it was intentional, or am I just reading too much into it? What do you think, Keith?
I think it just, like the Big Brother house it's an intense. Wow, that was really hard. It's an intense environment. And it got to the point where there's paranoia kicking in. Greg is feeling super uncomfortable, super insecure about his position, as he should. And Brittany might have revealed a little bit too much information, but she also reached her point. Like, I can only hide this for so long. This is the actual truth. I can't stand your ass, and it feels good to talk about it. And I don't know. I think even though she might have thrown Johnny under the bus, like, I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just part of her argument. Because she went into the conversation saying, like, you don't give me credit for anything, and then, like, called out Greg's lie whenever he tried to, like, say that he had nothing to do with Brittany being a pawn. So, I don't know. I think it was just part of the conversation, and Greg is a selective listener, so he only heard when somebody influenced Brittany's decision and just ran with that. So that's kind of is what it is.
What did you think about that, I guess, confrontation, Tom?
So I think it was such a Canadian confrontation. It was like two people like arguing for like 10 seconds and then they got uncomfortable and walk away. And they're like, yeah, you walk away. And then the person actually just walked away. But aside from that, I mean, I don't feel like Brittany really threw Johnny under the bus. Like, I don't think she was like, she didn't go out of her way
Right.
to mention his name. Like, she was kind of pushed for, why do you think this about me? And like, she probably just went with what actually happened.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's so clear that they're already together. Like, I don't think it was the best thing that she could have done for him, but I kind of see it as being on the same level as like when he kind of was making his veto speech and was like, Britt, do what we said earlier. Like they're just neither of them are like the most subtle players, but they're not like actively throwing each other under the bus. So I think that I wouldn't, if I was in that house, I wouldn't hold their actions against each other. And I don't think that they're the type of people that would either. Like if that was the case, I think we would have got like a very different reaction to the Sarah and Johnny voting Brittany, right? Like when they did, like Brittany was totally reasonable about that. She said, "I understand your situation. That's just kind of how things worked out." I think that's exactly how the other two will understand Sarah's or Brittany's situation.
Definitely, definitely, I agree. Um, so we've got Greg and Bobby on the block. Chop Shop versus Chop Shop. What are you guys' predictions for the vote on Wednesday?
I
How many people
personally,
are left? Like how many voters?
13 people, so 10 votes.
I personally think it's going to be a unanimous eviction for Greg to leave. Like even Bruno included, I understand that's his boy, but like Bruno's not going to risk his game. Like he's too much of a Big Brother fan and too much of a good player to allow his relationship with Greg to hinder his vote, knowing that Bobby's going to stay. So I think it's going to be a unanimous eviction for Greg to go.
What about you, Tom?
I could see it being 9-1. I think honestly that it is a misstep in Big Brother to decide that you're going to show that you're not going to be someone who like your closest ally can count on. That's not something that like a lot of people would agree with me on, but like I think Sarah, if she didn't have to reveal her vote publicly the way that she did, and Johnny like made a pretty smart move because it's like, look, I'm somebody who you know that I'm not just going to do whatever the house wants. Like if you come and approach me, I'll entertain your ideas. I don't know if Bruno's going to act that same way, but if he, in my opinion, if he's smart, he would because it makes you look like less of a player. It's like almost like throwing a competition, and everybody knows that you're close to that person anyways. So what's the point in deciding to go with the house? It's not like it's so easy to rationalize and justify that just to be like, listen, I didn't want to be unanimous for this person. I wanted to show my support, and if you do that, like I think it reflects positively on you. But I don't know if Bruno's the type of person who would see it that way. So I could see it being unanimous as well.
Bruno also has the convenience, though, of the support of the Chop Shop. Like Sarah and Johnny, when they made those votes, didn't have that, and they really were putting themselves on the outs, which I would commend way more than if Bruno gave somebody, you know. But I think because Bruno wants to have that like large mentality, like a large group mentality, that he'll end up putting in the house.
Yeah, he'll also probably want to scoop up Bobby right away. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just follows suit and is like, "Hey, Bobby, like, look, we should like work together now that Greg's gone."
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it'll either be 9-1 or 10-0. I think the only person that would even think about voting to keep Greg would be Bruno, but I could totally see it just being unanimous. So with that, assuming that Greg is the one that leaves on Wednesday, I'll ask it like this. Who do you want to see come back out of the 4 people evicted? And then who do you think will come back? So I'll go ahead and start with you first, Tom. Who would you like to see out of those 4 come back, and who do you think has the best shot?
I definitely want to see Neha come back. I feel like she got such a raw deal,
Mm-hmm.
and that she like that instant eviction. Okay, I understand BB Canada has like their twists and stuff, but that instant eviction was just bullshit. Like it was so stupid. like at least give people like a few minutes to plead their case in an instant eviction. I feel. So whatever. I would love to see her come back. If I can't see her come back, I don't think she's going to win a competition unless it's who will get the most votes from Canada as a competition,
Mhm.
or if it's just like a puzzle, like mental thing. I think the other option is Cindy. And if it was Cindy, I'd actually be pretty happy. I think Cindy, in her time there, she received a lot of shit from the fan base. I think she made smart decisions. I think she made one critical mistake, and that was not checking the bathroom in the middle of a conversation. I don't think that's a mistake she'd make again. I don't know if she'd be able to recover, but I think she's by far the most likely to like come back, win an HOH, put up bold nominations, shake up the house kind of thing. And so if it's Cindy, I'll be happy as well because I thought she was annoying at first, but she's not. She's kind of fearless. So
She is, and definitely one of the biggest supporters of Cindy with an S is Keith with a K.
That's
Keith.
me, Keith with a K. After reflecting on it a bit, I do think that Neha was robbed, but I can't help but think that I would really prefer Cindy kind of come back in the game. I think Cindy would have the most impact, with the whole Neha. I think confirmed her side of the house with that, with like targeting people in the chop shop, and so I think she's going to have that stigma, that Kesar stigma. But whereas Cindy, she was voted out unanimously. She has that in with Jordan, which could end up hindering his game. But I think she has that showmance with Jordan. She has the girls' support. She's strong at competitions. And I think as long as she checks the bathroom whenever she gets back into the house, she'll be A-okay. And so even though Neha was super robbed, she didn't even get a chance to play for Veto, I think I would prefer to see Cindy come back.
That would be pretty funny to see Cindy come back and like to watch her on the live feeds, and literally every conversation she just like combs the entire room real quick. She's like, give me 1 minute, give me 1 minute. That would be pretty funny.
you know what would be the funnier part though is if she actually found someone.
She's like, not this time, not this time. Yeah, I go back and forth. You know, Keith and we had a good conversation about it on the last episode, and um, I think I would still at this time prefer to see Neha, just because I just love Neha, and I can't get enough of that face, and just to see, like, I would pay to just have that reaction, like to see her face the moment she walks in and just kind of like looks at everybody, and just being like, okay. Okay. And but I think that if it is a competition, I think odds are it's probably going to be something physical. Some maybe like an endurance, or kind of like something they did in BB16. It was like that weird. I can't remember what it was, but something like that. And so I actually think Cindy probably does have the advantage to come back. But honestly, if Cindy were to come back instead of Neha, it really wouldn't be that much of a difference to me. I think both will pretty much have the same mindset going in, and I just like Neha a little bit more than Cindy.
I think the one thing that kind of works a little bit more in Cindy's favor is that if she does come back in the house, she has so many options, whereas like Neha just has the one set of options.
Exactly.
And if the wrong person wins HOH, I could see Neha just going up and out again right after she came in, which would be really lame. But I don't know. The one thing, I think the competition could also be something like a question-based competition of what do you think Canada said, because they're looking for like so much Canada interaction. Like who do you like a majority rules kind of thing, except like who do you think Canada thinks is more selfish, this person or this person? And if that's the case, I could see Neha winning that. But I think Cindy's proven she's good at like a lot. So
yeah,
I completely agree. So before we kind of wrap things up, I'm really interested to see, because we've kind of talked about a lot of the people that we think are playing really good games. Of course, people have been playing not so good games. So I'm really interested to see who you guys think. Let's go with the top 3 players. Who are the top 3 players in this game that you think are playing the best and at the moment have the greatest chance of winning? So I'll go ahead and go first to give you guys some time to think. Number 1 for me is got to be Zach. I think he just has the right mind frame right now. He's got a loyal Alliance member in JP. I think he's got another loyal person in Ashley. I think he's generally well liked. No one, I have yet to hear, I've been watching the feeds, I think, pretty much all season. I have yet to hear someone say, I think we really should watch out about Zach. And so I think he's probably the best person, or he's in the best position right now. Of course, so many things can change and a lot of things can happen. I think it's going to get harder for him, but as of right now, I think he's number one for me. Number two, I probably wouldn't have said this, but after what some of you guys have said and just kind of thinking about it, I think I'm going to have to give it to Ashley because I think Ashley might be the best, like in the best setup right now because girls aren't going after any of the girls. She's got the protection from Newport because of her relationship with Zach. She's got the protection from the chop shop. And so and like who else is left? Like Godfrey and Peely and and I don't see any of them going after her whatsoever. And so I think she's got a great potential shield in Zach. And so if she can kind of start focusing on different relationships and kind of get herself ready so that way when the jury phase enters, she can kind of have some other options besides Zach. I think she could be someone I could easily see her in like top four. And then third person, I guess I would have to go with Jordan. Even though he kind of wears the superfan thing on his sleeve, and I think that is gonna catch up to him later on in the game. I think it's hard to deny that he's in pretty much the same position as Zach almost. He does have strong allies. Him and Sarah seem to be very close. He has the fortress with Kevin. No one is looking at him right now. He's got solid allies. I think he has a great mind for the game. He knows what he's going to have to do. It's just going to be a matter of whether the target catches up to him and if he's going to be willing to cut the people that he needs to cut in order to win. So that's who my three are. Zach, Ashley, and Jordan. Keith, how about you?
Number one is Ashley. Ashley is definitely the person to watch out for. The three girls getting eliminated with all the girls nominating actually helped Ashley's game because she's a part of this detonator-esque chop shop where there's two girls and 6 guys. The other thing that separates Ashley from Willow is that Willow's completely extroverted, and I already saw a couple instances on the live feeds where Willow slipped up, whereas Ashley hasn't slipped. And Ashley also has that like connection with Zach, which could only benefit her game later. So I think Ashley is definitely setting herself up for a very successful time inside the Big Brother house, and everything that's happened so far is only helping Ashley's game, and she's doing everything she needs to do. Number two, I would definitely give it to Jordan. The reason why is because not being a part of the Chop Shop yet knowing that it exists is so helpful. And I think that the Chop Shop think that Jordan is wrapped around their finger. I think the other side of the house thinks that Jordan is wrapped around their finger, and that's exactly what Jordan wants. I hate to say it. Like he said that he would be able to play the game and like very, very well, and like he sometimes gets over enthusiastic in the DR, but he's so good. He's really, really good. Like he hides his emotions well. He underplays how excited he is for the game, and he encourages both sides to do exactly what they want to do, totally overlooking him, despite being the number one, like most likely to win, being exposed in front of the entire house. So I think he's doing a really good job at making himself available to everyone socially and also to underplay his strengths. I think people are definitely overlooking at him, and he has a great shot at winning. Now, number three is definitely going to be a different one than I think both of y'all will say, but I'm going to give it to Brittany. The fact that she's able to have this HOH reign and still not be considered a target is baffling to me. I think she's going to be in the pawn role for a little bit, but that can only benefit her. I think people are just severely underestimating Brittany, but I think Brittany also, as we see within this HOH week, will make moves. And the fact that you can nominate 3 really strong players, really strong threats, and still potentially be classified as a pawn, as a non-threatening pawn, somebody that's like not going to do anything in this game except be nominated against the person that's leaving. Brittany's in a solid position, despite being in the minority. So I would give it to Brittany as well.
Oh, cool. And then Tom, what are you thinking?
Well, it's tough because there's a lot of people who I want to include on the list. Like Sarah, for instance, I would love to include on the list, but I don't think her gameplay this last week has earned her a spot on it. But if I'm gonna go for who deserves, not who deserves, but who I think is gonna win, rather than who's in the best spot right now, I think my list it looks a little different than your guys, mainly because I think that a lot of people at this stage in the game look good because they're playing for a group, and I think certain people are playing more for themselves and are still playing as well as other people that are doing the group thing. So my number one is Zach, hands down. I feel like Zach is like playing a top tier game, even when you consider the BB grades. Like I think he's like playing a game that reminds me a lot of Hayden Moss's game, and Hayden Moss is my all-time. I think he's played the best game of Big Brother overall from start to finish. He didn't have like a single week where he was like in any danger, and he had control over everyone the whole game. I know he's not usually seen as better than Dan or Will.
No, I think that's a great comparison.
I'm just making faces because Hayden is my least favorite winner, but.
I love him. I came to love him even more after Survivor. No, I think Hayden and Zach are very similar. I think that's the type of player that if you leave them in the game and you don't take them out right at the beginning for being a big threat, that just person will charm their way to the end. Number two for me, if we were going on positioning right now, it would be Ashley, but I'm going to go with Willow because I think that Willow has kind of like the snake instincts a little bit. She seems a little more calculated, and she seems more aware of the fact that she will have to make moves for herself. I mean, maybe she'll just end up fizzling out and playing for the guys, but I think that she understands that ultimately every move she has to do has to benefit her. And so I think she's in a stronger position than the other side of the house. Otherwise, my third pick would go above her, and that's Kevin. And Kevin has made himself into a target for sure. I think a lot of it doesn't have very much to do with his particular gameplay. Like I don't think he would have won that competition if he could have avoided it. But Kevin his head's in the game, and I think he's a lot like JP to me, except for the fact that I just think that Kevin is only playing for Kevin, whereas I think JP is playing for Newport. And I feel like Zach says he's playing for Newport, but he's playing for Zach. So for me, like being selfish is the number one quality that I look for in a winner at this stage of the game, because it's like it's sooner or later you're going to have to choose. Do you want to put yourself or your alliance first? And if you're going to win the game, you have to make the decision for yourself. And so those are the three people that I see both doing that and in solid positions right now.
I think that's a solid list. It would have been really interesting to see what Willow would have done if she'd won HOH, but I'm kind of glad she didn't. I knew that Brittany and Sarah would do what needed to be done, and God knows we needed Willow and Godfrey to be doing rock paper scissors to determine who the HOH was.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if it was Godfrey?
I don't even want to think about that. All right, well. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Tom. This was a great episode. So much to cover, so much to talk about the individual players and their games and what's going on. I'm very excited to see the eviction on Wednesday. More excited to see who the next HOH will be and what the future week will bring. We've only got one more eviction after this until the returnee twist. Keith, is there anything you'd like to mention before we end this thing?
Yeah. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and before we end, I was vicariously living through that veto competition. I was sick. Just wanted to throw that out there.
We didn't really talk about that, but I mean, it was just
that was one of the most difficult competitions I've ever seen. But that aside, make sure you stay basic.
Yeah, stay basic, and thank you so much again for joining us, Tom. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, everybody. Stay basic.
Bye.
Bye. How's it feel, Tom?
Is it